I suppose a good direction we can take this is to the immune system, because that's like the number one thing you see about grounding is it reduces inflammation. Well, why is it reducing inflammation? So I don't know if you want to go into that, we can go into that.
I
Um,
absolutely want to go into that. And
yeah,
I'll tell you the reason why it's particularly interesting to me
yeah,
is what got me into this world was I had a autoimmune skin condition.
hmm
And one of the things that like fascinated me was I would spend a lot of time in Puerto Rico. And when I was in Puerto Rico, like I was less worried about my diet. I was more just like enjoying myself. But while I was there, I was grounded almost 24/7, like getting up for sunrise, watching sunset, like being outside all day barefoot. Um, and I realized I would never have a skin reaction when I was in Puerto Rico. And I've come to realize and learn that it's because of grounding.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, and there's many cases of that. There's many anecdotal reports of that, of grounding helping them in their autoimmune conditions. But yeah, that's a chronic inflammatory condition. So what's the number one killer worldwide? It's chronic inflammatory disease. You have heart disease, you have cancer, you have diabetes, you have neurodegenerative diseases, you have autoimmune conditions. These are all chronic inflammatory diseases. And so when you're looking at what can potentially alleviate these conditions, you need to find the common denominator that exists between all of them. And what's a common denominator that exists? Well, inflammation, but also, so grounding isn't directly reducing inflammation. It's actually it's dealing with its evil twin sister. I don't want to say evil, but it's necessary. And that's oxidative stress. So I don't know if you've heard of oxidative stress, but it's essentially an imbalance between the free radicals in your body and the antioxidants. So what's commonly said about grounding is that it's an antioxidant, and it can act as an antioxidant. It's a very potent antioxidant, and it acts different than other antioxidants. It's I would say probably the best antioxidant you can provide your body with. So let's I guess we can talk a little bit about inflammation and oxidative stress. So where you find one in the body, you'll likely find the other: inflammation, oxidative stress, and all of these conditions. And that's very heavily researched. It's well published. You do any search in PubMed right now, and you look up inflammation, oxidative stress, and disease, and you'll likely find a plethora of different resources for that information. But so it's obviously an active area of research. So yeah, a lot of these conditions have this oxidative stress inflammation going on, and so these free radicals. I'm sure you've heard of free radicals before. The technical terminology for these molecules is reactive oxygen species. And these can be very detrimental to the body. They can be very damaging to the body, but they're also very necessary. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So, and there's a couple different ways that these reactive oxygen species are created. And one way is through cellular respiration, and another way is through immune function. So when people think of oxygen, they typically think of the life sustaining characteristics, attributes of it. But it's actually, so when the body utilizes oxygen in cellular respiration, particularly in the electron transport chain, there's a series of complexes within the electron transport chain in the inner mitochondrial matrix. These electrons, so there's a proton gradient, but there's also electrons being passed through these these complexes in the electron transport chain. And so these electrons can essentially get leaked from the electron transport chain and prematurely interact with oxygen. And that leads to the improper reduction of molecular oxygen to produce superoxide. And the further reduction, you're going to get hydrogen peroxide and hydroxyl radical, which are all kind of damaging in their own right, but they're also very useful as signaling molecules and immune function. But they can build up. They can build up over time. Your body has a defense system in place to kind of combat these reactive oxygen species. These are its own endogenous antioxidants like superoxide dismutase, catalase, things of that sort. And there's also non-enzymatic antioxidants. These are things you can get from your diet, vitamin C, vitamin E. But these chemical antioxidants, they work differently. They work differently than what I like to call conducted antioxidants, because really what it comes down to fundamentally is bound electrons versus unbound electrons. So unbound electrons can traverse the body much easier, much more efficiently than bound electrons. So like chemical antioxidants have much more barriers to overcome, especially if you're getting them from your diet. They got to get through the digestive system without being destroyed. They got to get through the circulatory system to get to where they need to be. Conducted antioxidants, on the other hand, free mobile electrons from the earth, can semiconduct through the body's conductive infrastructure, and that allows them to be much more superior as an antioxidant. So essentially, you have something that can very efficiently quench the fire in your body, and that's this oxidative stress that's implicated in so many different conditions.